because you need to look in the mirror and figure out why you're not good at selling. It's got nothing to do with the economy. In tough times, good salespeople are still making money. The economy shrinks by 1 trillion. There's still another 12 out there. And that is what separates good salesmen from bad ones. And if you have that mindset, so I'm listening very intently to the language that they're using. So you get somebody say, well, look, if we like it, we'd probably buy. Now, most salespeople here, that's a positive response, they think. I know. The only thing I heard in that sentence that stood out to me was the word probably. What the fuck does he mean by probably? So my job then is to challenge it. So when people say, what makes you good at listening? I'm listening. And then I think, we just said it. He sees it, it works. It does everything he wants. His answer is, well, probably I'll buy. So there's something else in the mix here. What is it? I need to find that out. So the job of a salesman is not to give information, it's to extract it. Too many salesmen will think it's the other way around. My job is to show you why no! I've got to get this guy to convince themselves that they need help. And then once they've figured out they need help, then I can show you how I can help you. But I'm not going to do that prematurely. Why would I show you I can help you before I even know you need help or accept you need help? Couple that with the fact that most people in sales don't want to be there. That's the other problem. You know, you ask anyone.
Where else I'd want to be, man? I don't know where else I'd want to be. Like, hey, welcome back, you guys. Vikram Deol here with the Trust Rapport Influence Sales Method. I don't know if I've actually been more excited about a guest that we've had than this particular character. And I say he's a character because in sales, I do believe we play different roles and we have different opportunities to be whoever we really want when we show up to a sales call. Most people show up as a very, well, I'll let you kind of answer that, Denny, but he branded himself as the UK's most hated sales trainer. And I know a lot of you are going to be like, why would you do that? That makes no sense. Why don't you say you're the #1 trainer? Because that's what everybody else does. And if you're just like everybody else, you're going to get the same results as everybody else. So I'll let you take it away, my brother.
Okay. So, hello, everybody. Nice to be on the podcast. Thanks for inviting me on. So I'll start off with why am I called the UK's most hated sales trainer? Because, you know, bizarrely, I actually get some people come up to me and ask me the question as if it's like a real title, as if somehow I've been assigned it by royal warrant or something, and it's not. And you are right. One of the reasons was to stand out, but the primary reason was when I was trying to figure out how I should market myself, I decided to look at the competitors in the industry. And I looked at everyone who said they were good at selling, and they all sounded and said the same thing. #1, guru, top performer, leader, smashed it in the first, Fortune 5, but whatever it was all about look at me, love me, I am good. And I've always known that fundamentally you don't. Yeah. And I've always known that fundamentally you do not need to be liked or loved to sell. And so I thought, well, that's my belief. So I'm going to take the exact opposite position of what everyone else takes. And I'm saying I'm the most hated. No one else has claimed it. And if I claim this place and say I am the most hated, no one else can come along and take it from me either. No one's going to come along and say, no, I'm more hated. It's such a stupid thing. So I own the space, right? So once I own the space, I can plant my flag and claim this as my territory. And then I can go out and be and act how I want to be within my kingdom. And so there is a logic behind it. It wasn't just to be contrarian. It was, I genuinely believe you don't have to be liked or loved to sell. And if top leaders are selling themselves that way, they're fundamentally getting it wrong.
Bro, okay, so first off, we didn't give anybody your name. Benjamin Dennehy, Dennehy.
Right.
And if you guys are not following him on YouTube, you should, because it's hilarious and controversial and brilliant. You know, like a lot of people don't realize that behind a lot of quirkiness and jokes is a lot of intelligence and thought. And so I want to jump into what you said. So we talk a lot about in sales world, know, like, and trust. And I believe that that's actually reversed. I think people have to trust you and then they'll want to get to know you and then they can get to like you. Or they have to trust you and then they like you and then they want to get to know you. Either which way you get it, the first part of the conversation is trust. And I believe that, you know, our niche is real estate agents, but I believe this applies to everybody, is that everybody's looking to be the best friend versus being the trusted advisor, the doctor versus the front desk staff. Yes. And you nailed it. You said, I don't believe people need to be liked as much as they need to be trusted and following possibly a process of elimination so that the prospect can get from unhappy state to happy state. where did you kind of come up with this thought process around, you don't need to be liked and loved, but you do need to, you do need to have that other component in there?
Okay, well, two ways. One, the realization when I looked at how I bought. I literally had a conversation yesterday with a company in London that wanted to do some work with me, and I've declined to work with them based on the conversation we had. I decided they weren't right for me. And when I asked one of the people in this meeting, there was a head of business development, what's the purpose of prospecting? And this person said, well, it's to build relationships. It's about creating relationships. And I challenged that, and I said, well, let me ask you a blunt question. Name one thing you've bought in the last 12 months where you had a relationship with the salesman. Name one thing that you've bought in the last year. I said, in the last year, I bought a house, I bought a car, I bought a new fridge. I don't know anything about the salesperson. I know nothing about their family. We never had dinner. We never discussed anything outside of it. I simply bought from them because they satisfied a need or a want or a desire that I wanted, and they didn't piss me off. I said, you don't need a relationship to sell. And so when I look at my own behavior, I realize, why have I always been told you need to be liked? And then it goes back to childhood. When I started looking into psychology, what were you taught to do as a kid with your toys?
Share
your toys. So if you shared your toys, then you're being nice and other kids will want to play with you. If you share your toys, so that's something that you get told your whole life, share your toys, share. So then when you grow up, you get into the job of sales, they say, well, go and give them a free bit of advice, give them a free proposal, give them something, share your toys and your knowledge with them. And if you give them enough, they'll probably like you. And if they'll like you, then they'll probably want to buy from you. And I started realizing that was all rubbish. It was all rubbish because in reality, no one buy. Like I said, ask anyone, why did you buy that? And I'll never say, well, it's because I really, really like the salesman. We've got a good relationship. I actually didn't need the product. I just wanted to buy from him. There'll be an exception. There'll be an exception.
Yeah. There's going to be somebody in the comments that's like, no, I really wanted to support that one person. But outside of the ordinary.
Exactly,
I go to my bike store because I like the people there, but I like the people there because I've known them for 35 years. And the first time we walked into their store, I remember it's called Action Sports in Central California in Bakersfield. The owner's Kerry Ryan. He still works in a store today. He sat down with my family. He spent all this time trying on the different rollerblades, educating us, showing us the different price points. He didn't care that my dad was a doctor. He just wanted to help my father make the right buying choice. Now, my family ended up buying a lot of stuff that day, and he was very happy, but we didn't buy there because we loved Kerry and we thought we were going to know him for 35 years and spend hundreds of thousands of dollars. We bought from there because he understood his product. He understood the client avatar. He understood how to ask questions. He understood us. And he understood that my dad had no idea about what he was doing in the store. He was just there because his kid said, we need rollerblades. And he's like, fine, let's go get you some freaking rollerblades. Like, holy crap, these are expensive. Why are these $200 in 1987? And the owner of the store happened to be able to educate my father through a process that made my father feel trusted and that this was a good transaction. And we left with boxes and boxes of rollerblades.
I think a lot of salespeople confuse making someone feel comfortable with being liked.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah, pardon?
Let's talk about that because I don't think a lot of people like me, but I make a lot of sales.
Exactly. I'm the same. Yeah, I get a lot of people say, I hate your stuff, but I quite like you, or the other way, I don't like you, but your stuff's really good. Yeah, I don't care. I don't care if you like me. Does my stuff work? Yeah, then who cares what the messenger is? Yeah? So, but like I say, it comes down to good salespeople, either naturally or by design, make others feel comfortable. And if you make someone feel comfortable, they're more likely to open up and tell you the truth. And that's my job as a salesperson. I'm trying to get to the truth because I know in virtually every sales interaction, it's a game of poker. Both sides are coming in with their cards up against their chest and say, I don't want to show them my hand too early because if he sees my hand too early, then he's going to take me to the cleaners. I can't let them know how much I want this product. So you're playing this game, and you were taught that growing up because that's how you watched your mum and dad buy. They were the ones that did this. So you learn that behavior. So you're always in this adversarial system. The good salespeople are able to lower that defense wall. They make you feel comfortable. And as they make you feel comfortable, you feel more willing to give better answers to their questions. The more truth they can get from you, the more they're able to figure out, yes, we can help you. No, we can't help you, but we know who could help you. Or you don't actually need this. You could go away and do this, and that would fix your problem. So you are like an advisor and a consultant, and the good, honest salespeople are very good at making people feel comfortable. And I think they confuse making comfortable with being liked. Like a good doctor or a good lawyer. And always say, do you have to like your doctor to trust they'll do a good job? No. Do you have to like your lawyer to trust they'll do? No. So why do you have to like someone selling you a car or a house or an essay or a SaaS service? You don't. It's what salespeople tell themselves to justify not performing. I can't get in front of them because I don't have a relationship. So I'm just going to spend the next 6 months nurturing. No, it's called procrastinating. It's called being shit at your job.
The whole notion of, and you know, you've been around long enough, you've seen it long enough. The whole notion that you stopped and studied yourself first and foremost. The biggest difference, like you don't need to be a site, like one of my team members yesterday, she said, "Hey, I had this guy that was type A." And I said, "How do you know he's type A?" "Well, he was really fast to get me off the phone." I said, "Are you a psychologist?" And she goes, "Well, no." I said, "Did you take psychology classes?" "Well, no." "Did you study any psychology that would make you understand dynamics of a human?" "No." I said, "So what makes him a type A personality? That he was talking fast and in a rush? What do you know were you watching what he was doing? Did you see his calendar? Do you know that he's not got 5 people in front of him and he's walking into a meeting and you just happened to call? He picked up the phone because that's what a good human does when they're in sales and business. They pick up their phone when it rings, and you just happened to catch him at a bad time. So you labeled him as a type A and broke your process. And in fact, he's probably like the nicest human in the world that would have a 30-minute conversation with you any other time of the week. But now in your mind, you're like, oh, Benjamin's type A. And so when you call back, you've already labeled Benjamin as type A. And instead of like opening Benjamin up like you're supposed to do, you instantly label these people as this type of person and you drop all process. Or you try to create a process for a type A, a process for an analytical, a process for, somebody who's more kinesthetic. And you're trying to create 37 processes, and most people can't learn one.
No, I agree. And it's making assumptions that tend to kill salespeople. They go in with preconceived ideas and notions. So, that expression, don't assume it makes an ass out of you and me. And so this is what they do, and they carry it through the entire sales process too. They assume if a prospect asks a certain question, they're looking for a certain answer. So they go to give them that answer. Then it turns out that's not what I was looking for. And that's not actually the question I asked. Oh, I just assumed that's what you meant because you asked me that. No, you're not listening. You're coming in with your preconceived notions. And it's always, we know best. Let us tell you how we can fix this for you. And I agree with you. You're right. I looked at myself, and I don't read sales books. People always say to me, "What sales books do I read?" I say, "Don't read any of them." You see these, I don't do it, but you got those podcasts, and you got people when they got that bookcase behind them, and you can see every book. And yet it's just, hey, look at me, I've read all of this. It's like, do you do anything in those books? Do you do absolutely anything? No. So reading about the stuff. If you want to get good at sales, read about. I do say there's one book I recommend. It's about an alien that comes down to Earth and observes human beings as an objective alien, and it makes you realize how screwed up and fucked up we are as a species. It's called How to Run Your Own Life. And if you read that book, How to Run Your Own Life by Yup Meininger, which it's hard to get a hold of, trust me, I don't know why, but it seems a very hard book to get a hold of. Read that. Every client I've given it to says it's the best book I've ever read. It's changed my life. But yeah, because you need to look in the mirror and figure out why you're not good at selling. It's got nothing to do with Brexit or Trump or the economy or anything like that. In tough times, good salespeople are still making money. The economy shrinks by $1 trillion. There's still another 12 out there. Don't give me this crap. It's unbelievable when people blame external factors. It's always your fault.
My favorite objection that we get right now. So how was last year? Well, it was slow. No, I don't know. It was slow. Actually, we all of our clients were up 20, 30, 40, 80, 100, 200%. Why was it slow for you? Well, the market was slow. Interest rates were high. Inventory was down. I said, it's been like that for a couple of years, has it not? Well, no, it has been. Okay, so were there other agents in your market doing well? Yeah. So then tell me more about what your personal excuse is about why you're not doing well, right? Because it's easy to blame. You said something that that made me think of something. Most sales calls I listen to, I can
Yeah.
find the problem in the first 10 minutes about what, like, when a prospect is in a very low defense state, right? The first 10 to 20 minutes where they think that, because they know they're in a process, they know that at some point you're going to pitch them and ask them for money. And typically that comes somewhere between 30, 60, 90 minutes, or, in our sales world, it's first appointment. You typically towards the end start asking for a commitment. First 30 minutes are very chill, low key. How do you teach people how to be better listeners? Because if people just shut the front door and listen better, and it's like one of the hardest skills that most sales trainers neglect, because it's such a hard thing to help people tune their ears away from the, I want to buy a home, I want to sell a home, to actually listening to the real problem that the prospect has. I call it an overarching goal.
Yeah.
How have you kind of gone around helping your clients yourself? Because you're a good listener. I can tell from the
Yeah.
podcast I watched. How have you trained yourself?
So it's a very good question because it is a hard skill to learn. And I think the best way to learn how to listen good is most salespeople are listening for what they want to hear so they can talk about themselves or their product. I'm listening for all the reasons why this person isn't going to work for me. And
What does that
is
mean?
never, that is never said. That is never said. It's always in between the lines. So I'm listening very intently to the language that they're using. So you get somebody say, well, look, if we like it, we'd probably buy. Now, most salespeople hear that as that's a positive response, they think. I know
But
the
it's not.
only thing I heard in that sentence that stood out to me was the word probably. What probably mean? You see, salespeople take this. Yeah, well, no, honestly, if we see a product, if you run it well, if it does what we like, we'd probably buy. Yeah. Okay, well, that's great. Well, why don't we set up the demo? Oh, hold on. He said probably. Does probably mean? So my job then is to challenge that. So when people say, what makes you good at listening? I'm listening. And then I think, what the fuck does he mean by probably? We just
No idea.
said it. He sees it works. It does everything he wants. His answer is, well, probably I'll buy. So there's something else in the mix here. What is it? I need to find that. So I said, so when you say probably buy, now, because if you go head on at that, you got to see there's a subtle skill in this. If I go head on,
What's head on? Because a lot of people don't know what heads on means. So what do you mean is head on? Because
right, there's two ways to ask this question. One way is more likely to upset someone. It might not guarantee to, but more likely to upset them. And if I upset somebody, the moment I upset somebody, I upset the inner child, as we call it. Their critical parent's going to come out and start going for me, and then we're going to get into a fight. So I don't want to upset them. So there are two ways I could go. I could be more blunt. So, well, when you say probably, what do you mean? Now, you could do that, fine, and it may land okay. But there's a good chance if you say to someone, what do you mean by probably? That might just annoy them a bit. So you've got to ask it. So you've got to ask this question in a way that makes it easier for them to answer. So you do what I call a negative presumptive question. And so my job, rather than trying to pull someone to me, I'm always trying to push them away from me. Laws of physics. Yeah. Prospects are like anything in physics. If you pull an object to you, there's a force pulling it away. If you push an object away from you, there's a force pulling it back. So I want them to come back to me voluntarily. I don't want to pull them to me so they're tugging. So if I say, well, what does probably mean? I'm almost trying to get them. So I do the opposite. When you say probably, did you mean to say you wouldn't?
Well, no, I just meant to say that, it needs to have X, Y, and Z. And then we would be like, oh my God, we definitely want it.
Okay. And so if it does X, Y, and Z, and you're happy with the pricing, what's going to happen next, you reckon?
Well, if you can show me and guarantee that you can get me, the price that I want, and the house isn't going to be on the market for, 90 days plus, like, our neighbor's house was, and you have great communication. If you could show that to me based off of what you've already demonstrated and, your reviews that I did online, I don't see any reason why I wouldn't want to move forward with you as my listing agent.
Okay. Are you not going to have to meet with other agencies though, even if I do that?
Well, we probably should meet with some other people. I mean, you're only the second person I've met with.
Exactly. So would it not make sense? Because I'm conscious I don't want to waste your time. Because if you do want to go with us, I still don't want you not to look. So maybe it would make sense if after you've met with the others, I come back and show you what we do.
Yeah, I mean, you could do that. Or since we're already here, could you show me what you do? And then, like when I meet with the other people, I'll know what you do. And then, I'll know what they do and I can make a better choice. Or is that okay?
Yeah, I could do that. And so I get the feeling then that you'd be uncomfortable making a decision today, which is okay. I get that.
Well, no, I mean, I'm not uncomfortable with making a decision today. If you can prove without a doubt that you're the best, I really don't love real estate agents, and I really don't want to meet another two of them that are on our schedule for later this week. So, I mean, if you can convince me and my wife without a reason of doubt that if you could be as certain as birth control is, I can't ask for more than that. Um, and
Fair
if you
enough.
can show us that, then I mean, we would go with you. The other guy's out. He was, he didn't have a lot to offer. So he's out. But
So when you say he didn't have a lot to offer, and we could go on and on for here. So I keep
right,
thinking at this, right? Yeah,
right,
because now you've said something more interesting, which I wouldn't know. Now what? So I've got to build up a picture. But yeah, so what we got to do is we just can't. But if you know what do you, yeah, you've got to put it in a negative. Get some talking because we're able to say no. You see, it's easy to get a no from somebody than a yes
hard,
because a yes makes them feel as if they're being corralled into a corner. So I give a question where the no actually is in my favor, but it's easier for you to give. You mean to say
right.
you wouldn't buy, didn't you? No, 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 I don't mean that. You see, it's
Hmm.
easier to get. It's almost a knee jerk reaction, and that's
Yep.
why I do it. But if I go and what do you mean by probably? Well, what I'm saying is I don't know if I. Yeah, so it just makes it harder. It's a fine finessing of language. That's all.
What about like using a one word probe? Like, what if you just use like a curiosity frame, like curiosity tone, and somebody's like, we would probably go with you. And what if you did something like probably, and more of like a question and curiosity to get them to
Of
just,
course. Yeah, yeah. If you could do one word responses are good, so probably you could do that. You got to do it well though. You got to be good. See, this is it.
yeah,
A lot of salespeople are very bad at
don't do it
acting.
well.
Yeah,
They,
and one of the
they,
things I say is the difference between a good salesman and a poor salesman is often the difference between a good actor and a bad actor. It's not the script; it's the delivery. So yes, probably you could do that if you're good. But I've watched salespeople and go probably. What are you doing? You can't say it like that. Yeah. So yeah, if you're good, yeah,
so
absolutely.
I call it the TPC model. It's called tone, pace, and being conversational, right? Like if your tone is good, your pacing is good, right? Like you got to understand when to use higher
Yeah.
energy, lower energy, when to bring them up, when to bring them down, when to
Yeah.
probably, right? And then just being conversational. Like we're all following a script in life to some extent. There's
Yes.
a process involved to some extent. I hope to God you have some sort of a process, an outline you're trying to follow, whether it's written out word for word or it's bullet points. It's a script, it's a process.
Hmm.
And then the ability to deliver it by being conversational and not like a scripted monkey, right? Like, because I used to sell Cutco knives. I don't know if you're familiar with those when I was a young kid. Uh, Kitchen cutlery, kind
Oh
of
yeah.
door to door in the
Yes.
US, Canada. And we always used to say the knives sell themselves. If you gave a monkey the rope, the scissors, the leather, and you gave the presentation to Mrs. Jones and you sent the monkey there, the monkey's going to come back with a certain amount of
Yes.
filled out order forms. But if you want to be the top guy, right, and you want to be at the top of the leaderboards, learning how to deliver, right? My old manager, Mike Meditz, learning how to deliver the presentation to bring Mrs. Jones along with you is what's going to be the difference between a couple of order forms that a monkey can bring back and a stack that a human can bring back.
Yes. I
Why is
completely agree.
delivery? Why is it so hard for humans when they go into a sales presentation to turn off their salesperson mode and put on the just normal human hat and just have a conversation in your eyes?
I believe it goes down to the beliefs that most salespeople possess, and they believe that the prospect's better than them. You see, the prospect has the money, so they see the prospect as being actually ultimately in control. I'm there
Oof.
to subserviently
Ugh.
demonstrate how we can help and hope that we've done enough to satisfy them. And if they like us, they then give us their money. So they go in almost like a Charles Dickens character, please, sir, may I have some more with a begging bowl. So they act like that. Whereas a good salesman goes in and his whole approach is, look, guys, I don't know whether or not we should work together. What I know is this stuff fucking works. We built a $200 million company. I'm not here to impress you. I'm not here to convince you why you should work with us. In fact, I'm trying to find out why you should be our next customer. Because if you're our next customer, you should be fucking grateful we're even here today. showing you how we can fix your problem. And that mindset changes. So when I get in front of, I'm not trying to sell self training. I know my stuff works. I'm not here to convince you, right? You
Right.
need to convince me that you're going to do it, that you got the guts and the courage to come out of your comfort zone. Because if you can't do that, I'm not going to work with you. I don't need your money. I'd like it, but I don't need it. And that is what separates good salesmen from bad ones. If you have that mindset, this is why when you put the CEO and the salespeople in, the CEO is far more confident. Why? He's a 10 out of 10 probably on the self-esteem scale. It's my company. I know what I fucking can and cannot do. So if I don't want to do so, I'll say no. So they go in already with that approach. A lot of salespeople don't have that. Couple that with the fact that most people in sales don't want to be there. That's the other problem. You ask anyone.
Where else I'd want to be, man? I don't know where else I'd want to be. Like
I
running
know, but
companies
most people,
running companies is so hard. People think running a company is so easy. I said, my day is morning to night meetings are boring. Don't get me wrong. I love what I do, but like, goodness gracious, great balls are boring. Like you get to talk to people, you get to be out in the field, you get to do cool shit. Like, oh my gosh. And you get to talk to people like that are excited if you know what you're doing to actually talk to you about looking at cool properties. Like, how is that not more enjoyable? Oh, you got to do 2 hours a day of prospecting. Big deal. You're like literally all you're doing is talking to humans all day long about something they already want, which is purchasing real estate to get from one state to another state.
I mean, really, you're right. You got a product that sells itself. The skill is getting the listing, and qualifying out people that can't buy. Again, it's the same with recruiters. I moaned about a recruiter the other day. It's the same with if I was a real estate agent, I'd be one of the laziest people out there. I wouldn't want to leave my desk until I know exactly that if I show you certain properties, you're going to buy one of them because I know exactly what you're looking for. I don't want to just run people around every property I got, the hope that one of them ticks your fancy. I'm going to really drill down to figure out what houses I have to show you so that we only have to do one or two of these bloody things. Because to be honest, I don't want to be driving around showing people houses if I don't have to. So I'm inherently lazy. So I disqualify hard. You disqualify hard, you don't have to work as hard.
So in our process, right, because most agents don't know how to qualify and do it the right way to make somebody actually want to work with them, we teach them how to do a quick buyer consultation, 30 to 60 minutes, where you sit down, you walk them through the process, especially in a lot of the markets we're in the US and Canada, where there's 16 offers on a property, right? It's a lot of process, right? There's a lot of emotions. And if you walk somebody into a property, I'm like, hey, Benjamin, let's go look at these properties. You're like, oh my God, I love this one. And then I'm like, oh, by the way, there's 16 offers. You're going to end up losing the first two because I'm trying to explain to you on the fly. So I teach my clients, like, you sit down with people, you have a 45-minute consultation, you learn about them, they learn about your process, not about you, about how you operate, because we don't write offers, we win houses, right? Like our company does not write offers, we win homes for our clients. We help you sell your home for the maximum amount of money. We don't just list your house. We don't have a marketing plan. We have a sales plan, right? So little nuances in the language, similar things, different outcomes. And so we teach our clients on the buyer side, go out and do it. Tell the person to come to you, do a Zoom call in 2025, but sit down with them for a few minutes, walk them through the process. Now they actually have to ask for money. Before in the US, you probably don't know it because you're not over here, but you probably do because you work with agents here in the US. They didn't have to ask for compensation. Now they actually have to ask for compensation. So they really need to know how to get the buyer to want to pay them out of their pocket for their services. Because the buyer can just go directly to the listing agent and have the listing agent do all the work. And the listing agent's already compensated by the seller. So the buyer really doesn't need to go to a buyer's agent. That sucks. Right. And so we teach them on the phone how to book an appointment. Sit down with somebody for 30 to 45 minutes. Spend that 45 minutes to build an actual, not a relationship, but a trusted advisor relationship. And then from there, you get to make the decision if you want to work with them or not. Instead of going and showing them 40 houses and then getting on Facebook and saying, buyers are liars, they just waste my gas and time. I'm like, no, you allowed that to happen. So like when you think about processes, let's do this. Like you have some great one-liners on the phone. So like if you were calling an expired listing, right? So I put my house on the market. It didn't sell. And Benjamin shows up on the phone. How do you crack open somebody who's getting 50 calls that morning? Um, and you just happen to be one that got through. How would you crack somebody open just off the fly? And I know we didn't talk about this, like we literally met 17 minutes ago, but like, what are some thoughts that kind of come to your mind from a mindset standpoint, and then from a maybe like a process standpoint, if you don't mind me throwing you on the spot?
Okay, so if it was an expired listing on the spot again, you always A/B test things. But I've worked with some
Of
realtors in
course.
the US, and they've been doing this, and they phone up the expired list, and the line that they've been using, which they say was, I phone up and say, I'd say, hey Benjamin, I've noticed your house is no longer on the market. I take it you've managed to sell it then.
No, we just didn't find we didn't get an offer we were looking for.
Makes sense. And I guess you've decided to park this for now. You're going to stay in the property, just leave it.
Yeah, we're gonna probably park it for the next 12 to 16, 18 months. Our kid's still in high school, so he's a sophomore. So we figure we'll just hang out here until he graduates, and then we'll look at what to do and see kind of where the market's at then. Our
All
agent
right.
told us that the market wasn't very good right
Makes
now
sense. And before you
anyways.
go, can I ask one awkward question then?
Hey, yeah, what's up, man? Make
Why
it
was it
quick.
on the
You guys
market in the
keep
first
calling.
place? Why was it on the market in the first place if you don't have to leave?
Well, yeah, well, we don't need to leave. The house is beautiful. We remodeled it 4 or 5 years ago. It's a good size house, 4 beds, 2.5 baths. So we're not looking to really leave, but we got 3 kids. And so if we could get the kids their own bedroom and bathroom, which was our goal, that's why we put on the market 6 months ago, was, if we had that extra year where our son and daughter, our 2 older sons didn't have to share a room, because our daughter gets her own, and they always complain, well, Sarah gets her own room and we have to share with each other. That would have been nice, but now it's only like a year and a half. And now it's kind of like, does it really even make sense to get a bigger home for just like a year's worth of time, year and a half worth of time?
And I take it then that if you saw a property that ticked all those boxes, you wouldn't be interested in looking at it anyway either.
No, we found it wasn't the problem of finding the home.
Oh,
Yeah, we found a lot of homes. In fact, we were under contract on one house, and we were able to get a contingent offer accepted by the sellers of that house, but our house just didn't sell.
okay. Now, out of role play, if I knew what my stats were, say I could shift a property in is it 3 months reasonable in your world, or 12 weeks, 8 weeks? I don't know.
Depends on where you're at, but you could say 30 days.
30 days. Okay. Okay. So, all right. Well, it sounds like you've decided not to sell. Last question. If you were able to sell your property with the next 30 to 45 days, would you?
Mm, I might be a little bit more open to having that conversation. I'd have to talk to my wife because she's the one who had to maintain the home and get the kids out and keep everything straight during the daytime. If it was a night showing, then I would help her out. But during the day, she was the one that was predominantly responsible for that. And there is some truth to happy wife, happy life, because it was a lot of work for her for the last few months.
Yeah. Yeah. And I get the feeling by the sounds of it, you would be unable to convince her that this would be a good idea by the sounds of it.
You would probably be the one that needed to do the convincing, because I'm not
Oh,
playing that
if
game
you
right
can't
now.
convince your wife, sir, I don't think I've got much hope in hell of doing that either.
Yeah. So, I don't think it's off the table. I just don't think it's on the table tomorrow. Like, we're not moving because I have a job offer in
Right.
Nantucket and I got to get there.
I was going to try and force myself on you, but by the sounds of it, I get the feeling that even if someone came along in the next 30 days, you guys are too comfortable. You don't want to move. You can stick it out for another year. Who cares? It's only a bathroom, right?
Well, it's a little bit more than a bathroom, right? It's the extra bedroom, it's the bathroom, it was the bonus room, right? It was being able to have the kids, a little bit happier. Not that they don't love each other, but it'd be nice if they had their own space. We had the bonus room. Right now they're going to their friend's house a lot, so they're going to the neighbors to hang out on Friday night and watch movies, and we would prefer them come to our house because we'd like to have a little bit more oversight, I guess you could say, with what's going on in the world. So we
Oh,
don't
so you
know
don't
who
want to
they're.
leave the area.
No, we were just looking in the Sheridan area. So we weren't looking outside of Sheridan. We were just looking in the Sheridan neighborhood, and we found a beautiful home. It was in our budget. But we
Is
just
it
couldn't
still
get
on the
our home.
market?
No, it's gone. But there's still, I mean, my wife is still looking on Zillow every day. I mean,
Why is
she's
she
always
still
sending
looking
me
if you're
stuff.
not going to move? I'm curious. Or are
That's what
you
I
just
tell her.
window shopping now, as we all do?
Well, that's what I tell her. I'm like, babe, when you're happily married, you don't keep looking at other options. And she goes, stop it, stop it. I said, you wouldn't like me out there window shopping, would you? She goes, I'd cut your face off. I said, exactly, babe. So why are we looking at houses all day if we're not going to move? So I know she still is interested. I'm definitely more interested because I want the bonus room for myself, the office. But she's definitely interested. But like,
Well,
I
let me
mean,
ask you a blunt question then. If you
yeah.
agreed to have a chat with me, do you think your wife would be upset if you invited her along?
Considering our house just came off the market yesterday, she might not love it, but I think if you can bring some humor and not be so kind of like all the other agents in the world that say that you have a buyer and kind of like I've had 30 calls today. She's had 20, and agents are just like, we have a buyer. And she's like, well, where were they last fucking week when the house was on the market? And so if you come correct, I think I could convince her to having a quick, maybe 15 or 25, 30-minute conversation with you if you really believe you could get the home sold in under
Well, I'll
30
tell you
days.
what, if I can figure out why it didn't sell, show you that and you believe it, and then demonstrate how we could sell it, do you think that would please her? Because that's the big
I think it
question
I
here.
think it
It's not, it's why didn't it sell?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's what we asked our agent, and they just said the
What did he
market's
say?
slow. Yeah, she said the market's slow.
Did you, can I ask you now? This is going to be an awful question. Did you believe her?
Well, it's her best friend, so it's hard for
Uh,
us to it's hard for me to say anything to her directly. So I told my wife, but my wife said just let it go because she doesn't want to ruin the
your
relationship. So
best friend wasn't selling it for free by any chance.
my wife's best friend was definitely not selling it for free. She was definitely going to get paid a nice commission on it.
Right. And she blamed the market and obviously, well, if last question is, do you believe there's no one out there that will buy your house then? If you do, then you're right. I can't help you. And then your other real estate agent's right. Do
I
you
mean,
actually believe that?
we love it enough that I guess we're rebuying it again, aren't we? Because we're staying.
Yeah, so you bought it, right?
Yeah. So I mean, I'd like to think that when people come over, they appreciate the work we've put into the home. I mean, we did the kitchen, we did the upstairs bathrooms and bedrooms, we did the backyard landscaping, added a pool, redid the outside painting. I mean, we put in about 150, 200. I don't even want to go
Okay.
past that number. Pause.
Okay. Well, look, I'm going to let you go. So why don't we do this? If we would agree for me to come down for half an hour, if you don't wake up on the couch tomorrow morning, I'll take it the meeting's going ahead. If you do
Cool.
wake up on the couch, you can send me a message and say it's over. How does that sound?
Yeah, man. Like, why not? Like, I think whether we do something or not, I definitely am not doing something with the wife's
No,
friend
I'd agree.
anymore.
I'm going to be brutally honest with you. If your other real estate agent that you rate as good hasn't managed to sell your house, then maybe she's right. Maybe it is
Yeah,
the
we
market.
might use her to help us buy a home, but because she was able to get our offer accepted, which I was shocked. So we might use her to buy the home, so my wife doesn't have to lose face at yoga every morning with her. But I definitely am not going to rehire her to sell our house, and that's actually been one of our challenges, man. Is that my wife wants to use her just to save face,
I
but we
see.
both don't feel she could do the job of selling, but we do feel she did a great job of helping us buy. So
That
yeah,
does put you
let's
in a
meet.
tricky position.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
why don't we meet for a little bit? What time do you got tomorrow? Could you do after 5?
Let me check my diary. I should be able to do it. What time you guys have dinner?
Oh, we normally don't have dinner till 7.
Fine. So I'll try to be there before dinner then. So
Okay.
yeah, I could do, we could do, well, look, 6.
Yeah, that's fine. That's perfect. Kids
Okay.
are
Now,
kids are
look, so have a chat with your wife. If she genuinely
Yep.
doesn't want to do it, just let me know.
Yep.
Yeah. It's
No,
not a
she'll be
problem.
fine.
You can't
She'll
hurt my
be fine.
feelings.
We've been talking about it, and we're looking for somebody to build a connection with, and eventually, whenever we do decide to do something, we need to have a better agent than her. At least somebody we can yell at when we're pissed off, and we can't do that to her best friend.
All right then. Blah 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 blah.
Cool. So what I what I really liked is how you kept pulling me back in, right? Like if you the push and the pull,
Yes.
instead of like trying to sell me on how great you were, like it doesn't work because that's what
It doesn't
everybody
work.
says.
No one's going to believe me. They've just had a shit experience. They're not going to believe in it. So no, my job is to push you away, to get you to keep saying, well, we still want to sell. I think we want to sell. You were yo-yoing my wife. Da, 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 da. Then you get the wife relationship. Then we got the information. It was the little clangers you were dropping that enabled the conversation to keep moving. We want the friends to come over. Oh, so you don't want to leave the area? No, so that suddenly limits. You see, you'd start to see all of this. Then it turns out it was the friend. That's another layer of politics and complication, So most salespeople don't get that information.
No.
And that's the job.
We sold expireds. We sold a lot of expireds when I was actively selling. We did like $100+ million, and we were selling $3, $4, $2 million properties that were coming off the market. And people don't understand that, like, it's not about the seller, especially in this point, doesn't care about all of your gimmicks. They're frustrated. They're irritated. They had a goal that we never accomplished, right? They had a mission in their life, and we never figured out what that mission was. And when you ask me, like, well, let me just ask you, like, why would you even leave the area? And I was like, well, the bedroom, and that's all I gave you. And then later on in the conversation, I can't remember what you asked exactly, but then I gave you, you were like, well, it's not that big of a deal. It's just a bedroom. I'm like, no, it's the bedroom, the bonus room, the office, the backyard, the kids. And then those were like surface level. And then I was like, well, the kids are going to the neighbor's house to play instead of staying at home. And we don't like that. And like, I just kept giving you more information.
You did. And that's my job, is to get you. So the job of a salesman is not to give information, it's to extract it. Too many salesmen will think it's the other way around. My job is to show you why. No, I've got to get this guy to convince themselves that they need help. And then once they've figured out they need help, then I can show you how I can help you. But I'm not going to do that prematurely. Why would I show you I can help you before I even know you need help or accept you need help?
And we go in, and like people go in using these scripts, like even in a presentation, in a listing presentation, the first thing they do is they take a tour of the home. They waste 20 minutes looking at the back of somebody's frizzly ass hair that they're feeling self-conscious of. After the 20-minute tour where the person's like, well, let me show you this mouse I bought 18 years ago. We spent $300 on it and it's worth $0 now. And they're building all this value in their property and all their memories. And then you come down the staircase and the seller goes, okay, Benjamin, what do you think the house is worth? And you're like, oh, well, maybe we should sit down and talk numbers. And there's no possible way to bring that back because we've lost 20, 30 minutes. And so the seller in their mind is like, well, I've already given you time. What do we need to do? Like, let's talk numbers. And so we teach our people, it's like you strategize first before you go on a tour. Because if they don't like what you say, who gives a shit about their fucking house?
Yeah, exactly. I totally agree. It's like when people do demonstrations. I tell them, what are you doing a demo for? Never do a demo because all you're doing is talking about I totally agree. And the other thing that came out of that conversation was there's a question that I've given to real estate agents, and it does work well. Why didn't it sell? What did your real estate agent? And they always say, well, they said it was the market. And the question that always gets them is every time you go, can I ask you a blunt question? Did you believe them when they said that? And virtually everyone says, no, this is good. I want them to accept that, no, they haven't accepted the market's bad. It's actually, our real estate agent was shit. Yes, you screwed over. This has got nothing to do with the market. So there's a reason for you to stay in it.
That's a good question. I missed that one. That one. That was good.
Yeah, and it's an absolute perler. Do you think? The word think is not enough. It's intellectual.
No.
Can you believe when they told you that? Did you believe them? Not really. Why not?
Why not?
Well, because houses in the area have sold. Exactly.
Oh.
So when you push back on that and said, well, other houses have sold, what did they say? Well, they'll either say, A, I didn't ask that, which is good, or B, they said, well, I did ask that, and they just gave me this blah, 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 blah. So can I ask you another awkward question? Yeah, do you think you hired a crap real estate agent now. There's a lot.
What I throw right before, I don't want to throw them out of the boat because a lot of agents are, you can get a lot of pushback depending on the market, where they hired their aunt, they hired their yoga buddy, right? So it's like, it's hard sometimes for the say. And also sometimes when you ask that question, it's like, do you think you hired a crappy agent? Well, of course they did, but then it's also like, they can take it personally and shut down a little bit. But what I always ask is though, it's like, so what did your agent just kind of ask you when you asked for feedback to like lower your price? They go, yeah. How often did they ask you that? Every time we talk to them. And did they only call you to get a price reduction after the first 30 to 60 days? Yeah. How'd you know? Oh, I apologize. That's what most of them do. And I said, if you could go back in time. So I like to ask a little bit of a softer question because I love asking the crappy one, but people get offended sometimes. People are soft in this world.
Well, that's why whenever I go to upset someone, I predicate it with a "Can I answer your question?" that may piss you off or upset you.
Fair enough. I never. So I would say, can I ask you a question? If you could go back in the world 90 days ago, what would you change about your agent that you guys hired? Like, what is there anything that you would possibly change, man, about your agent that you guys hired? If you could go back, I know we can't, but it's just a hypothetical. Well, I would wish they had this. So if your agent had that, how would that made you feel? Oh, like better, even if the house didn't sell, like, would you at least have felt like you were, yeah, at least they had a strategy. But I like your question too of like, did you hire, I mean, can I ask you a rather difficult question? Sure. Did you feel like you hired a crappy sales agent? Oh yeah, I mean, kind of. Shit.
It's amazing. It's amazing what you get away with if you get permission to do it. I was in a meeting once with the CEO of a company, and the situation sounded awful. And my little spider senses went up. And I said, "Look, I need to ask you a question now, but I'm scared that if I do, you're going to punch me in the face." I said, "So how do I?" I said, "So how do I do that?" And he goes, "Just ask it." And I said, "Are you sure?" It's a complete humdinger. Now he's basically arguing with you to tell. He goes, "Just ask me. It's fine." I go, "Okay." So my question sits, why don't you just quit? And I remember he looked at me and he smirked and he goes, "It's funny you asked me that." I said, "Why?" He goes, "I tendered my resignation 2 weeks ago." I said, "I knew it. I had a feeling." And I go, "So can I ask you another odd question?" He goes, "Yeah." I go, "You can't buy from me, can you?" He goes, "No." Another thing you learn very quickly, prospects will waste your time. Particularly someone that's handed in their notice. Your salesman phones up. "Yeah, sure, come and see me. I got to kill time. I'm checked out." So
I'm bored out of my mind.
Always have your spider senses up. If you feel something's off, you should call it out because often that gut is right. Too many salesmen are scared to do that. "Oh no, you can't bring that to a CEO." Why? He's a human being. He's a human being. If I do it right, if I don't blurt it out, well, this sounds like shit. If I were you, I'd resign. That's probably going to piss him off. But if you go, "Can I ask you a question that's going to cause you to punch me?" He's going to say, "Just ask it. Are you sure?" Ask it. I can say anything. As long as it's not about his wife, I can pretty much say anything now.
Yeah. I mean, if you're that dumb, then you deserve to be punched and maybe you'll learn something. I always say like, trust your gut. Right. When your gut is talking to you, like we always had that spidey sense, right? Our gut is so important. Our intuition, our ability to empathize with people. It's a secret weapon that salespeople have turned off. And when you start to trust your gut and you train yourself to trust yourself, what happens in the world around you is that you actually get to connect with the person and the relationship the fake relationship that you are trying to build actually becomes super authentic and becomes super real. Because you're calling things out that they don't even know how you figured it out. And it's just like, hey, something in my body's telling me to ask you this really random question. Can I ask you something kind of off the cuff? And they're going to be like, what? Yeah. Blah, 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 blah. And they're like, holy shit. How did you fucking know that? It's like, I told you it was random, but like my mom tells me like I'm an empath or some shit, but am I off base? And they're like, no, you're spot on. What do you mean by that? Tell me more. How am I I feel like I'm totally off. I must be off. Like, no, you're on. Oh, I am? How come? And then they just like blurt out more stuff than you could ever imagine and game's over.
A good salesman is more of a therapist. than anything else.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm good at sales. I've had therapy since a young child. So maybe that's why. Hey, I got a question for you. One last question. We've been jamming for oh, wow. We've been jamming for a long time.
Oh, wow.
This has been fun. Where can people find you, bro?
So you can find me on YouTube, UK's Most Hated Sales Trainer. You can find me on LinkedIn. You could also find me on my, I have a whole training platform, salesmatrixcourses.com. And I know I was going to do a deal. If anyone that watches this, if they put in your name, it's DEOL, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, if they use DEOL, I'll give them a month for half price. They can try the platform half price for watching this podcast. If you just put the word DEOL in at the checkout, you'll get it for half price. So I figured I'd do that as I'm coming on your podcast. And if anyone watching this, like I say, I work with realtors in the United States. I work in most sectors because it doesn't matter what you sell. It's not what you sell that distinguishes you. It's how you sell. Yeah. People don't change the way they buy just because it's a different product. Humans buy the same way. We buy emotionally, we justify intellectually. Once you understand that and systemize it, doesn't matter what the product is. Yes, you need product knowledge, but you don't need to learn a new way of selling. So that's where you find me. LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, all of them there. Just put in UK's Most Hated Sales Trainer. It's impossible not to find me, frankly.
Impossible. Yeah, like if you guys can't find
it, it's impossible not to find me. But yeah, use the code. Use that code. Get a discount. I'll do that for those who listen to this.
I appreciate you for showing up, man. And if you guys did not get nuggets and notes from what we jammed on today, wake the fuck up. Like, drink some coffee, rewatch this, grab a pen and pencil, like, take some notes, because there's a lot of gold in here that you're gonna miss if you only heard this one time. Like, you need to go. This is a master class on sales. You need to go back and listen. There's so much in here, and I don't want you to take away just like one surface level thing because your brain was like, that's too complicated. I'm driving to process. If you're not following me, hit the subscribe button. Benjamin, super appreciate your time, man. Thank you so much.